Hello and welcome back, or welcome for a first time. Welcome. New setting. Look, I got a background here. This isn't actually my wall. I think that looks a lot nicer than my white wall, don't you? And it's double-sided, so I can change it up for the next diary. So what we have here today is a mystery diary. Written in 1954, I believe it was written by a woman traveling with her husband and a group of people, potentially on some kind of business trip to Europe. They visit multiple countries from Norway, there's Rome, there's Greece, Istanbul, multiple countries. And she does this all within, let's see, it starts August 18th and September 25th. Don't know how long it'll take us to get through this. Probably not that long. The first episode is always kind of, we don't know. We don't know how far we'll get. So as usual, I will read the first episode here publicly on YouTube, and then the rest of it will be over on my buymeacoffee.com, where you can join to watch a lot of diary readings over there. I post roughly every 2 weeks. I'm trying to do more often, but it kind of depends. Like, I've been traveling and now I'm going to be working on a short film, but I'm trying to keep it up like at least 2 weeks or a week and a half, something like that. And I have a proposal. So I've only been able to return one diary to their family, and I've read through several others by now. I've gotten pretty far in tracking the families, but I have basically reached dead ends for all of the other ones. Even with Ancestry.com, even if I can find that there are living relatives, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, whatever, Ancestry doesn't give me the names, so that's not very helpful. I am sure it's not impossible to do this. It's just a matter of having the time. And I don't always have the time, and I do what I can. So, here's what I propose. If you can help me get in touch with a living relative of any of the diaries that I have posted so far, I'll give you a free year subscription to my Buy Me a Coffee diary reading club. I don't know what you call it. So a free year if you can help me. This might mean you'll have to subscribe first for access to all the videos. And if you want to download the diaries as well, I have them for sale for $5 each up there, because it takes several hours to scan each one. So they are there. Some are difficult to read. I'm trying to transcribe what I can and provide that as well with the download, but I don't do it for everyone. But yeah, I thought I could use some help, and if you're up for a challenge, I will reward you. And for this one, since I don't even have her name, boy, yes, you'd get a free year too if you could figure out who wrote this based on just anything that's in here. Because I have not been able to figure this one out. So that's my proposal, and I hope someone takes me up on it and helps me out here, because it's an ambitious project, I guess. I love doing it. I love doing the research. I love reading them. I love. It would be so nice to get them back where they belong. But I've got a lot of them, and just not enough time to focus on them. But if you're up for it, let me know. Subscribe to the Buy Me a Coffee. Tell me you're going to do the challenge. Tell me which diary, and I can send you all the notes I have, so you get a head start on that. And I think that's all I want to say right now. I don't want to, chatter away when I should be reading the diary, but I have to say these things. So we will get started now. I'm not sure how far we will get, but here we go. Keep the diary up here where you can see it. And so I'm not looking down into my lap. Okay. August 18th, 1954. Washington, New York, Atlantic, Pleasant. So I think they set out from Washington and went to New York and crossed the Atlantic. Oh, weather. Weather is pleasant. It's got date, place, and weather. I left Washington at 9:30 by Eastern Airlines, which went out of business. I did take notes. They went out of business in 1991, leaving Bob to chew his nails until the conference committee agrees on a Social Security bill. See, I feel like that's a clue, but I can't quite figure it out. A Social Security bill they can pass, called Phil, Dr. Giacomo from Idlewild Airport. Took off by SAS, that's the airline, at 2 p.m. Amused on the way out to the plane by a sign, "Please remove all Japanese beetles from your clothes and person before boarding plane." August 19th, on the plane. The weather is smooth. The plane DC-6B had about 25 passengers, so we each had 2 or more seats. Soon after leaving New York, we were served orange juice, then a demonstration by the stewardess as to how to don and inflate a life belt, to be found in every seat. After that depressing activity, dinner was served, much like an 89-cent platter from the Giant stores. Did you have a Giant store? We had a Giant store. We have a Giant store. Not here, not in the Netherlands, but in Pennsylvania where I grew up, the Giant store. I assume that's the same line, brand. But with the addition of coffee, Danish cheese, and crackers, roll and butter, salad, and Danish pastry. By this time, it was nearly dark, and after reading just a little, I fell asleep for 3 hours and awoke to find us landing in Scotland at 7:30 in the morning. We had had a nice breakfast on the plane, and a walk in the clear, cool air was just what the doctor ordered. Sorry if I'm kind of reading slowly. It's handwriting. It's not that easy. August 19th, Scotland to Oslo. After an hour and a half stop, we boarded again. Next stop, Copenhagen, where I mailed the letter to Chris Bagger's mother. Chris being a newly found friend just before I left SS. It's a little scribbly, not totally sure. Lunch on the plane after leaving Copenhagen. I actually don't know how to pronounce that right. Then a stop at, oh dear, this one. I wrote down a pronunciation guide, but it's probably still bad. Göteborg. It looks like Göteborg. Apparently, it did change its name to Gothenburg. This is a city in Sweden. Swedish. It's not a language I know. And finally, Oslo at 5:30 p.m. At the KNA Hotel. Did I write down about the KNA? Yes, I did. The KNA Hotel. Well, let's finish this. At the KNA Hotel, I had a single room despite our reservation of a double, but without bath. So it was a building erected by the Royal Norwegian Automobile Club, the KNA, when the car organization celebrated its 25th anniversary in 1932. The house was designed in a functionalist style by architect Magnus Poulsen and housed a hotel, club premises, and offices. During World War II, the German Wehrmacht had its headquarters in the building. The house was expanded with an extension in 1951. Scandic KNA, which is part of the hotel chain Scandic Hotels, was partially renovated in 2008. KNA still has its head office at Court Adler's Gate 16, if that's interesting to anyone. I was too tired to care, and after a short walk and a very poor dinner, to bed at last at 8:45 p.m. 30 hours since I had left my bed at home, but still only 3 o'clock in the afternoon by our time. At 10:45, Mr. Alexander called on the telephone from downstairs to say he had been to the airport to meet us. We had forgotten to advise him of our change in plans. Oh dear. August 20th, I was half asleep and did not realize he was at the hotel. The next morning, he was there as I came from breakfast and was alarmed that I was planning to pursue our schedule alone. He gave me a telephone number to call anywhere I should get in trouble. His wife sent flowers, lovely roses, which I wore as I bravely set out for the I cannot pronounce this. Fjord. It's Norway's longest and deepest fjord, which stretches 204 kilometers inland from the coast north of Bergen. And for those of you who don't know what a fjord is, because I actually wasn't totally clear on that anymore, it's been a while. It's a long, narrow inlet with steep sides or cliffs created by a glacier. So she was headed out there. Looks really beautiful. Oslo to Flåm. Flåm? The train from Oslo to Myrdal, did I write that down? Nope, I don't think so. It looks like Myrdal. We'll see if I find that. It follows along a ridge of very high mountains, some glacier-capped, and many above the timberline. Lunch on the train was by sitting. I, as usual, at the first. There was no choice. When all were seated, they brought us soup, then a huge plate of boiled potatoes, a generous serving of pork and sauerkraut, and a dessert of chocolate pudding. Having heard so much of the magnificence of the Flåm railway, I felt a little disappointed. One falls was beautiful, and the train stopped for us to appreciate it. All of the train trip is frustrating due to the necessity for sleds against sheds against landslides, which spoil the view just at the moment you get most interested. The Flåm Hotel was a very nice little inn on a beautiful small fjord with the benefit of a beautiful sunset, first over the water and then on the 3,000-foot mountains long after the valley was in twilight. The hotel was full of a tour of Australians, some New Zealanders, and 3 other Americans. Leaving Flåm at 8 o'clock a.m., we had 3 hours of lovely travel on the fjord to Balestrand, where is a beautiful Stave church decorated inside with typical colorful Norwegian designs and hand-woven rugs. It is not Lutheran, but a mission church. It's about these Stave churches. I wasn't sure what that is, so I had to look it up. They are really old wooden churches across Norway. I'd never heard of them before, never seen a picture of them, and they're very interesting. Apparently very old too, and there aren't many left. So apparently there hundreds of years ago, more than 1,000 Stave churches stood in small communities across Norway. Today, just 28 Stave churches remain standing. So I read the article, and I'll link down below, but it's basically, they would take they would take care of them as best they could. They are made of wood. They got better at building them to last. But time and wood, and these days they try to keep them up using the original methods, which is difficult and expensive, I think. But there aren't many left. So save the staves, I guess. Did I turn the page yet? Yes. Sorry, the memory card was full. Had to take a moment there. So from Balestrand, the trip to Stalheim involved change of boats in mid-fjord, and 3 boats came together for an exchange of passengers. 1 boat going to Flåm, another to Lærdal, and 1 to Gudvanken. I am so sorry. I met a very nice couple, Ernie and Janet White, going back to the States after 3 years in Indonesia. Night came down as we sailed along the fjord between the towering mountains until we reached the end of the fjord at Gudvanken. From there, by bus through a valley and then steeply up the mountain to the hotel, my first room with a bath since leaving home. Morning brought such a thrill, but arrived at 10 a.m., having come to Voss by sleeper, whence he called at 9 o'clock to say he was coming. So we enjoyed beautiful Stalheim together, though he did miss the fjord. Who called? Did I miss something? She says someone called, and I'm not getting it. August 23rd, Oslo, sunny and moderate. Finn? I can't tell what the first word is. It might be a name. I don't know. Something Alexander. Met the train from Stalheim, and after a good night's sleep, we were ready for the meeting. After a joint meeting with ladies and musical interlude of Swiss music. No, wait, actually that's not Swiss, and I don't know what that is. She kind of corrected herself. It starts with a G. I don't know. Something kind of music. A good lunch of Norwegian sandwiches, untopped. On especially good bread and butter, the ladies toured the town hall, a really beautiful place where modern art in typical Norwegian colors appears at its best. The banquet in the evening called for white tie and tails, on which the Americans failed to conform. After a good dinner, of which the pièce de résistance was ptarmigan. Apologies. I did look this up, and it's a bird. I've never heard of it. There was dancing, my partner being Mr. Sumner Treen, Trien, secretary of the Norwegian Society, our something party, I can't read that. She kind of like stuck in a little note. Our party also included Mr. Baumann, secretary of the Swedish Society, I believe that is. We were more amused than impressed by their peculiar scaling rules. Or scaling. I tried to look that up and didn't really find anything. In the morning, August 24th, a typical breakfast served smorgasbord style. A boiled egg and coffee at our table, milk for Bob in a quart pitcher, and serving ourselves from a large table containing prunes, cheese, including goat, cold roast beef, herrings, sardines, salads of coleslaw and lettuce, string beans. That is all I could recall. That is all I recall now, but there was much more. Then on a tour with Mr. Quayle, I think, the guide on our bus, and then she kind of stuck something in here again. Frogner Park by something. The view of Oslo and its harbor from the surrounding mountains, especially appealing. Then to lunch at a beautiful restaurant, but in the water. After that, we went sightseeing in the Volksmuseum, and after great difficulty getting a bus back to the hotel to dress for dinner at the Harbits, whose daughter is now in the U.S. on a A75 scholarship. A lovely dinner with spontaneous song and good conversation. August 25th, Oslo, Stockholm, still wonderful weather. Took Bob to the town hall, and then we went to see the Kon-Tiki raft and the tram, maybe? I don't know. It looks like Fram. And a Viking ship, and then to Stockholm by plane. So about that Kon-Tiki raft, I had to look that up. And here's what I learned. I'm going to provide a link down below where you can read more about it and see pictures. I'm going to share some of the pictures over here. It sounds really interesting, and the guy wrote a book about the experience. I kind of want to read it. So on April 28th, 1947, a raft made of balsa wood carrying 6 men and a parrot sailed out of Peru. Its skipper was the then 33-year-old Thor Heyerdahl, and their destination was Polynesia. It was a result of the theory he had been pondering ever since his stay on Fatu Hiva. This group of islands in the South Pacific could not have been populated solely by peoples from the West. It must also have been populated by indigenous South Americans. Among the circumstantial evidence he pointed to was the story of Kon-Tiki Viracocha, a native chief who, legend has it, sailed west from Peru into the sunset on a large balsa wood raft. So I guess, she got to see the raft. I wonder if it's still there. Heyerdahl had presented his theory to a group of leading American anthropologists in the spring of 1947, but they gave him the cold shoulder. One of them, Herbert Spinden, even went so far as to challenge Thor. Sure, see how far you get yourself sailing from Peru to the South Pacific on a balsa raft. Challenge accepted. He immediately set about planning the expedition that would take him and a crew across the Pacific Ocean on a balsa raft. He recruited a crew, and they had 5 well-qualified men on the team. They got balsa timber in Ecuador and then built it in Peru. Spoiler alert, after 101 days at sea, the Kon-Tiki ran aground on a coral reef by the Roya Atoll in Polynesia. So they succeeded and demonstrated that South American peoples could in fact have journeyed to the islands of the South Pacific by balsa raft. So impressive. And he wrote a book, and I think there was a movie made in the 50s, and maybe since then. But it was interesting, but I couldn't spend time reading that. But I will give you a link below in case you're interested. I like things like that. Went to Stockholm, checking into the Malmen or Malmer. I'm not sure. I didn't look that up. We found it terribly noisy, especially due to motor scooters. We changed to a quieter room on a court and had time to inspect all the modern contraptions. They really seemed to overdo things. Heated travel racks, a high bathtub only half as deep as at the other. Wait, it's high, but it's half as deep I don't know. A desk which became a vanity by the flip of the wrist. Beds which were also sofas and not satisfactory as either. So, like, at a futon? I don't know. Bizarre. An alarm clock built into the wall. Elevators with electric eyes. An automatic boat. Oh, what is this? Something automatic that I cannot make out. A booth lack. Maybe I should look up this word, because that's not a word to me. Etc. I was going to write how unfriendly Stockholm seemed, but our first adventure belies it. We planned to go to dinner at an arts club restaurant. We asked advice about changing buses from a stranger, and he said to follow him and his friends as they were going there too. Upon arrival at the restaurant, they invited us to join them, 2 doctors and a friend. After dinner, one of them insisted we go along to his apartment with them, where he entertained us with delightful Irish records. The city generally was not quite so hospitable as that. An American cruiser was in the harbor, and we enjoyed watching our sailors in a foreign port. We saw lots of drunken Swedes, but if our boys misbehaved, we didn't see it. The formal banquet was held in the evening at the Grand Hotel of the first day of the meeting, the ladies having had lunch at a beautiful restaurant overlooking the city and harbor, and afterward an interesting tour of the Mills Garden, the work of the same Mills outside Washington. At the banquet again, we stood out remarkably in our informal clothes among all the white ties and tails. The Swedes pride themselves on their formality, seeming to consider themselves unique in that respect, in view of the fact that their more or less rigid conventions are peculiar only to Sweden. They appear more something than formal. More, I can't read that word. I don't know. It seemed to me, too, that their formula for scaling, I don't know, seemed to be a precaution against drinking too much. One does not drink without a skal to someone else. The glass, the glass, it's connected to the word underneath, sorry. And I'm just expecting Swedish words. The glass is raised in salute. They both say skal, drink, salute again with the glass, and it's finished. A man never skals the hostess, and a woman never initiates a skal. Next day we were taken on a long trip to see Gripshallen Castle with a great many regularly heated tile stoves, which remove all mustiness from the earth. It has a beautiful situation on a lake and a marvelous collection of pictures, plus an interesting theater high in a tower. After the tour of the castle, we had lunch at a very nice restaurant. First nice open sandwiches, then veal, potatoes, and several salads and garnishes. No dessert, and for a beverage, beer or mineral water. In the evening, we were guests of the Thule Insurance Company for dinner, and it was a strange affair. We were not the first to arrive, but those present sat like statues. After shaking hands and murmuring something unintelligible, they returned to their staring into space. But after a short time, the Weatherheads of Scotland. I think it's, a last name. The Weatherheads. The Quails of Oslo and the... She didn't know how to spell this either. I don't know. Something Petersons of Denmark. All of whom we knew well from the previous meeting, arrived and the ice began to break. When we came to the table, though, we came face to face with what may be the real reason for my lack of enthusiasm about the whole affair. In the center of the table was a bright red centerpiece made up of scads of bright red crayfish. The host at our table served me first, and I saw the antenna move and the eyes stare, and I thought for an instant that it was alive. Under the close supervision of the host, I was instructed in how to dismember the frightful creature and extract the meat, which I did not want in the first place. We all ate 3 of them, and I don't really believe anyone enjoyed them. Bob didn't, and said the Mrs. Bosch P next to him wasn't enthusiastic, and I could see Mr. Weatherhead wasn't. The things are edible, if you could call it that, only from August 7th to September 7th or 9th. And our trip should happen to coincide. But after that horrible experience, we were served a wonderful filet mignon steak, and for dessert, a delightful compote of melon and raspberries. Oh, that does sound nice. The host at our table, Mr. Kellner, is coming to Washington the end of September, and we will have an opportunity to return the company's hospitality. When the party broke up, we went with a very nice young couple, at their insistence and not the host's, to the apartment of the president of the company, where he was serving champagne to his employees. It was a beautiful place of high ceilings, exquisite objects d'art, and massive furniture. We enjoyed our visit despite the feeling that we were gate crashers. When we left there about 1:15, we took our lives in our hands again as we ventured out into traffic in a taxi. I have never seen such horrible driving, as everyone seems to drive at top speed all of the time. There are very few traffic lights or officers, and every driver seems to think he is the only man on the street. All this is complicated by thousands of motor scooters who drive just like the fiends in cars. One answer may be in alcohol, which the authorities seem to be trying to combat. One couple, at least at the dinner party, were leaving their car on the street and going home by taxi because if the police find a driver having had the slightest amount to drink, put him into jail for a full month, whether he was guilty of any other illegal act. Yeah. Okay, that seems like a convenient place to stop for now. I think maybe we'll have 2 more episodes. I'll figure this out. I'm gonna put my little bookmark here. Oh, check this out. It has the, I can't get it out. It has the pencil that came with it. Damn it, it broke. Well, it has the pencil that came with it. I guess I'll glue that together now. Oops. There. Oh, magic. No. I'm going to stop there for today and research a couple more things and read some more. And yeah, you'll find the rest of it over on my Buy Me a Coffee. Don't forget my offer. If you feel like doing some investigative work, 1 year free membership. And also, I'm going to mention it because I keep forgetting to mention it. I noticed that my channel finally has the little thanks button down there. It should be like right around there, I think. It's got a little heart with $1 in it, I believe. I have never used it before. I've seen it on some other videos and kind of wondered how you qualified for that or what happens. But I have it now, so you can just donate if you want. You don't really get anything. So you might as well just go over to buy me a coffee. But it's there, and that's kind of cool. I like it. I am still hoping I can make a living doing more creative things like this, so we'll see. But that's it for today. I will see you soon. I mean, well, you public YouTube people. I will see you in the next video I make here, which will probably be making popsicles or something. And the diary enthusiasts, I'll see you over on Buy Me a Coffee. And thanks for stopping by. I hope this one's interesting, even though we have no idea who she is, where she's from, how old she is, anything. That's a big challenge. That's the challenging one so far. I think the rest of them, I have names. I at least have names for everyone else, but this one. Okay, I'm gonna go glue this together now. And I'll see you later. Bye.